Today, we're diving into something so fundamental, it's easy to forget it was an invention at all: fire. I'm not just talking about the element, but about the single most important piece of technology in all of human history, the one that, quite literally, forged our world and us. So, as we go through this, I want you to keep this one question in the back of your mind. Without the ability to control fire, who would we even be? What would our history possibly look like? Because as we're about to see, almost everything that makes us human is tied to that one flickering flame. Let's get into it. Okay, first things first. Mastering fire wasn't some eureka moment. It wasn't invented in a flash. It was tamed. And this was a slow, long, almost unimaginably long journey of technological evolution that played out over more than 1 million years. This timeline really puts that journey into perspective. I mean, it all starts around 1.5 million years ago, with our ancestors just being clever opportunists, following a forest fire to see if they could scavenge some cooked animals. Then, you fast forward all the way to 700,000 years ago. At places like the Shokudian caves in China, we find these massive ash layers, 6 meters thick. That's not an accident, that's proof of real control. They could keep a captured flame going. From there, it's about preservation. Around 50,000 years ago, we see the first standardized hearths, basically built to protect precious embers. And then finally, the real game changer. Around 30,000 years ago, we get the first solid proof of making fire whenever we want it. So you can really boil that whole million-year saga down to 4 huge technological steps. First, just scavenging, using what nature gave you. Step 2, conserving, a massive leap, figuring out how to feed a flame and keep it alive. Third, containing it, developing the simple but brilliant tech of a hearth to make fire safe and efficient. And finally, the ultimate breakthrough, step 4, creating it, making fire whenever and wherever you needed it. And that right there is the key. Artificial firemaking, that was our technological declaration of independence from nature. We no longer had to wait around for a lightning strike. For the very first time, we held one of nature's most powerful forces right in our own hands. So how'd they pull it off? Well, our ancestors came up with 2 main ways to create that first spark. The earliest was the percussion method. You take a hard rock like flint, smack it against a mineral like pyrite, and poof, you get a hot spark. Think of it like a prehistoric lighter. Later on, the friction method came along, rapidly spinning a wooden stick against a board to generate enough heat for a glowing ember. This one actually required more sophisticated tools and technique, which really shows you how their technological skills were progressing. Okay, so we've covered the how, but the why, that's where this story goes from interesting to absolutely incredible. This wasn't just about a new tool. This was a revolution that completely remade our biology, our diet, our very survival. Fire didn't just change the world around us. It changed us from the inside out. Just think about the immediate problems that fire solved. It gave us warmth, which let humans push into cold climates and survive ice ages. It gave us safety. No saber-toothed cat is going to mess with a roaring fire. It gave us light, literally conquering the night and doubling the amount of time we had for everything. But the biggest one? Nutrition. Cooking unlocked calories in foods we could never eat before. And, crucially, it killed all the nasty parasites and bacteria in meat. And this right here is the most profound impact of all. You see, cooking is basically a form of external digestion. We started breaking down food with heat before it ever entered our bodies. And that single change kicked off an evolutionary chain reaction that completely reshaped the human body. The proof? Just look at our brains. The brains of our ancestors, like Peking Man, were almost double the size of earlier hominins. Why the sudden growth spurt? It's because cooked food delivered this massive surplus of easy-to-digest energy. And what did our bodies do with all that extra fuel? It invested it in the most energy-hungry organ we have, the brain. But here's the wild trade-off. As our brains got bigger, our guts got smaller. The human intestine is only about 62% the size of what you'd see in other primates. We just didn't need a huge digestive system anymore because the fire was doing all the hard work for us. That freed up even more metabolic energy that could be rerouted upstairs to our growing brains. And think about the time this saved. Great apes spend up to 7 hours a day just chewing, just grinding away on tough, raw plants. But once we started cooking, our food got so much softer that our chewing time dropped to less than an hour a day. That freed up so much time for other things, like making tools, telling stories, and just thinking. And what's the result of all of this? We lived longer. Way longer. Better nutrition and fewer diseases from food meant the average human lifespan shot up from around 15 years to over 20. Now, that might not sound like much, but in evolutionary terms, that's a massive advantage. More time to have kids, more time to pass on knowledge. So fire literally rewired our bodies and gave us this huge leg up on survival. But the story doesn't end there. For hundreds of thousands of years, fire was a tool for survival. But as we head into the Neolithic era, we see another incredible technological shift. Fire evolves from a survival tool into an engine for creation. This is the next great revolution. Humans started to figure out that with higher, more controlled temperatures, fire could do way more than just cook dinner. It could actually transform raw materials like clay and rock into entirely new substances, things that had never existed in nature before. And you can really see the technological leap in this comparison. On the left, you've got the classic Paleolithic hearth. It's a simple pit, maybe it gets up to 600 degrees Celsius, great for cooking and staying warm. But on the right, that's a Neolithic kiln. It's a complex, enclosed structure designed specifically to trap heat and get temperatures over 1,000 degrees. This wasn't for cooking food, this was for industry. And that ability to control super high temperatures put humanity right on the doorstep of the next age. These Neolithic kilns could reliably hit over 1,000 degrees Celsius. Now look at the melting point of copper, 1,083 degrees. They were so close. They were literally just a few degrees away from being able to turn solid rock into liquid metal. And the discovery that finally bridged that gap was probably a complete accident. You see, potters were using these colorful, copper-rich minerals like malachite to paint designs on their pottery. Well, imagine their surprise when they pulled a pot out of that super hot carbon-rich kiln and saw little beads of shiny, pure copper. They had accidentally discovered smelting. And just like that, the foundation for the Bronze Age was laid. So fire transformed our technology and it transformed our bodies. But its final, and maybe its most lasting impact, was on how we live together. Fire didn't just forge tools and metals, it forged the very bonds of human society. The campfire became the original community center. It was the place where you shared food, which strengthened social bonds. It was where everyone gathered at night, where elders passed down stories and knowledge to the next generation. It was the light that allowed us to create the first great masterpieces of art deep inside caves. And of course, the person who knew how to create and control this incredible power, they naturally became a leader, which started to form the basis for new social structures. When you step back and look at it, mastering fire gave us the blueprint for every single technology that followed. It taught us a fundamental lesson. We can understand a powerful force of nature, we can harness it, and we can use it to remake the world to better suit our needs. From that first simple hearth all the way to a nuclear reactor, the basic principle is exactly the same. And that leaves us with one last, really fascinating question. For our ancient ancestors, fire was the breakthrough technology that unlocked a whole new evolutionary path and reshaped their world. As we stand here today, surrounded by our own incredibly powerful technologies, things like artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, it's worth asking ourselves, what is our next fire? Thanks for watching.